Welcome to English Digest, guys. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom.
Hey, it's our TOEIC unit, and we're going to be talking about a study tour package for somebody named Callum. Just kind of a cute name. Callum is a guy's name. We've also got a character here named Brett. Our dear Tom is going to be doing both voices. I think Brett's the dad, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then Callum is the young guy. Erica works for a company who is selling these tours. So, yeah, this sounds fun, but it's sure not inexpensive. It's kind of expensive.
Right, but it might be a great investment for Callum's future. And also kind of depends on what sort of financial situation Brett is in. If he's a lawyer or a businessman, maybe he's got money to burn and it's just petty cash to him to send his son to England and to Oxford there. But this is all about a conversation. We're choosing the best study tour for Callum, who is Brett's son. And again, Brett and Callum are talking to Erica, who represents the company who sells this particular program. So without further delay, let's listen to the entire conversation now, and we'll be right back. Good morning, Erica. I'm Brett, and this is my son, Callum. He's contemplating a study tour this summer, but he's uncertain about the destination. We're hoping you can steer us in the right direction.
Certainly. Callum, what are your interests? Knowing them will enable me to recommend an appropriate study tour.
I'm fascinated by culture and history. I'm eager to explore locations with a rich heritage and interesting stories.
Based on your preferences, I'd suggest our University of Oxford study tour package. It offers an enriching experience, encompassing academic workshops, interaction with local students, and most importantly, cultural excursions. You'll have the opportunity to visit iconic sites such as the Bodleian Library, Christchurch College, and the Ashmolean Museum.
That sounds superb. I'd relish the chance to explore those historical sites. This tour sounds like a remarkable opportunity for Callum. Do you have a flyer or a brochure containing the price and additional details that we can take home?
Certainly. Here's a brochure with all the necessary information, including the schedule, transportation, and accommodation. It also highlights other interesting places to visit in the Oxford area. Please review it at your leisure.
We appreciate your assistance.
You're welcome. If you opt for the Oxford package, please return for registration. We'd be delighted to facilitate any further needs.
We'll definitely think about it.
Okay, guys, let's dive in. We're going to choose the best study tour. Some people go and do these study abroad trips, and some actually include classes that you take. I went on a study abroad when I was young, and I had like 3 classes, but a good portion of the time we just were, roaming around Europe having fun. But it was sponsored by my university, and this might be as well. Erica might work for Callum's university. We don't know for sure, but these study tours are really fun. And if you have the cash, they're really lots of fun to go on.
Right. They're programs arranged through universities or private companies. And after university, I just kind of went down to Mexico myself and just registered at a language school there.
You're brave, though. Yeah.
So it wasn't really arranged by anybody. I just went there on my own.
Cool.
And found housing and studied Spanish for a while. But I don't think I took the final exam, actually. I was anxious to start traveling around the country.
Sure.
But in this particular case, we've got Brett talking to Erica, and he's asking her about a study tour, and he enters the office and says, "Good morning, Erica. I'm Brett, and this is my son, Callum. He's contemplating a study tour this summer, but he's uncertain about the destination." So here we've got the verb to contemplate, which means you think about something for a long time. You deeply consider that thing. And in this particular case, Callum's thinking, I'd like to study someplace overseas this summer. I'd like to maybe go to England or Switzerland or Japan. And in this particular case, I guess he's interested in going to the UK.
Cool. I wouldn't use contemplate if you're just thinking about where you want to go for dinner tonight. So contemplate is for a more serious topic. Maybe you're contemplating a change in jobs, or maybe you're contemplating marriage, or you're contemplating moving to another country. Those are big decisions where you want to think very deeply and consider all the ramifications of some choice you're making. But don't use it for, oh, I'm contemplating what dress I should wear today. That's not important. These are more important questions that you're going to use this verb with. And yeah, contemplating a study tour is a big decision. You want to go to the right place, especially if you're going to be spending a lot of money. He's uncertain about the destination, but his dad says, we're hoping you can steer us in the right direction. Steer here is used as a verb. It just means to guide or control something. We have a steering wheel in our cars that we steer. But you can also steer someone towards what you want them to do just by kind of persuading them, or maybe actually using your hands and guiding them somewhere. Steer them. He is saying we're hoping that this Erica, who works for this particular group, or maybe it's a company, that she can help them find the right place for Callum, the son.
And Erica is very helpful. She says, certainly, that's not a problem. And she addresses Callum, the son. Callum, what are your interests, or what are you interested in? Knowing them will enable me to recommend an appropriate study tour. So you need to analyze the person first and find out what their interests are. Are you interested in learning a foreign language? Are you interested in studying business or art or something like that? Yeah, what are your interests? And if I know those interests, then I'll be able to figure out exactly where you should go, what place would be suitable for you.
Yeah, if she doesn't know anything about Callum, she wouldn't know what to recommend. But if you tell somebody about yourself, then they can actually do a pretty good job of recommending an appropriate study tour, the tour that would fit him the best. He says he's fascinated by culture and history. Well, then I would say go to Europe. They have a lot of culture and a lot of history. I would say America, not so much. Maybe, our own culture perhaps, but history, our country's pretty young. So I would definitely think in terms of either Asia or Europe, if you're going to go for culture and history. He's eager or excited, very excited to explore locations with a rich heritage. Rich here means deep. There's a lot to see there. Heritage is also a part of culture. Your heritage is where your parents came from, the culture that you belong to, those sorts of things, your heritage. And he's looking for some interesting stories.
Exactly. So, yeah, Europe seems like a good idea. I was thinking India might be a cool place to go. It's got rich culture and history. But in this particular case, Erica does not recommend India. She says, based on your preferences, I'd suggest our University of Oxford study tour package. So they probably got all sorts of study tours available, but she thinks that this one would be suitable for him. It's the one that goes to Oxford in England, the University of Oxford. And that's what she suggests. She goes on to say it offers an enriching experience encompassing academic workshops, interactions with local students, and most importantly, cultural excursions. So that's what this particular study tour offers. First of all, it will give you an enriching experience. To enrich just means to make you better than you were before. You've been enhanced. Your knowledge will be increased. It will increase. And to encompass here just means to include. It includes academic workshops where you can meet with professors and figure things out, learn new things. And you can also interact with local students. You can actually talk to them and exchange information with students who are attending Oxford University. And the most important thing is they're going to have cultural excursions. And an excursion is just when you go out somewhere, you go on a field trip and you go check something out. In this particular case, they'll probably have excursions to various places in Oxford, the different colleges, the different buildings, etc.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. The cultural excursions, like actually getting out there and seeing some really famous sites, maybe some architecture, some famous locations where history took place. So an excursion could be a trip. It could be a short trip arranged by a travel agency or your school. But it could also just be your family going on an excursion for the weekend. So you can try using that word. That's a great word. She says you'll have the opportunity to visit iconic sites. If something's iconic, it's very famous. It's characteristic of a certain place or maybe a period of history that's famous. Here we're talking about some really famous places in the UK, and that's the Bodleian Library, Christ Church College, which is part of Oxford, and the Ashmolean Museum, which, you know, I've been to the UK quite a bit because I have a friend, really close friend there. I don't know about this museum. I've missed out on it, so I've got to go to this next time.
Yeah, and they might have excursions in other parts of England as well, to go to London or to go to Shakespeare's birthplace. Who knows?
Cliffs of Dover. Yeah.
That would be a good place to go as well. And Callum says, that sounds superb. I'd relish the chance to explore those historical sites. If something's superb, it's fantastic, it's excellent. And this is kind of a special word. If you get served tea, for example, and you haven't had tea that good before, you could go, oh, this tea is superb. I've never tasted any tea better than this.
Yeah, this is a great word. It's superb. That's really, really top of the line. You know, it's not just great, it's superb. It's amazing. So here Callum says, I'd relish the chance to explore those historical sites. Relish as a noun is something like pickles or, you know, something that you add to a hot dog. If you've ever been to the place here, the big place where people go shopping with the carts, they have hot dogs. They have relish, which is like pickles chopped up with other different herbs added. But that's relish. But here, as a verb, I was going to say as a noun. As a verb, relish means to really enjoy. Just enjoy the heck out of a place. So he'd relish or really appreciate the chance to explore the sites. What does Dad say here, Tom?
Well, Dad, his name is Brett. He says, this tour sounds like a remarkable opportunity for Callum. So I guess Brett likes this idea as well. She's got another question for Erica. Do you have a flyer or brochure containing the price and additional details that we can take home? So here we've got some printed information that are very common. A flyer is usually just one single sheet of paper, and you'll often receive flyers on the street, somebody trying to introduce a new restaurant or something like that. They'll pass out these things and you can, oh, this looks good here, you know, a chicken leg rice or, you know, gongbao jiding fan or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be on a flyer. But if it has many pages, like a small book, maybe about 10 or 20 pages or so, then that would be a brochure. And in this particular case, Brett wants information from that flyer or that brochure, which contains the price and also some additional details that they can look over when they go home.
Another word for brochure that's similar is pamphlet, which is P-A-M-P-H-L-E-T, a pamphlet. Also, just kind of a small book that they've put together. It's usually a piece of paper and they fold it in half and there's several pages. And a brochure, of course, would be bigger and give you more information than, say, a flyer. So he wants to probably take that home and really look at it closely. And he actually asks, the dad does, can we take this home? And are there additional details that they can look at? Erica says, certainly, here's a brochure with all the necessary information. And then she lists that information. It includes the schedule, the transportation, and accommodation. Accommodation is where they would stay. So sometimes in these study tours, they have very inexpensive housing for students. They're usually, you know, either in college or just out of college. So it would be interesting to see what kind of accommodation they offer.
Yeah, places to stay, maybe with a local family or in a dormitory or something like that. And it also highlights other interesting places to visit in the Oxford area. So this brochure will contain information about places to check out in the Oxford area. And she says, please review it at your leisure. Leisure, of course, just means when you have fun and when you relax, when you're not working or studying, you are at leisure. And in this particular case, when you review something or do something at your leisure, you just do it when you're able to do it, when it's convenient for you to check it out. I should also mention that leisure is the American pronunciation. In England, you'll often hear leisure.
Yeah. You could also use it like this. Someone could ask you the question, what do you do in your leisure time? So what do you do in your free time? What do you do in your leisure time? Those are both the same ideas. But if someone's asking you to do something, they'll ask you to do it at your leisure. Or when you have time, they're not trying to force you or say, oh, they're 很急, they need it immediately. At your leisure. But what do you do in your leisure time? You know, some people play video games, others go biking, and still others, like me, try to do some sewing. So there you go. Well, Brett says, we appreciate your assistance. Assistance is just help that Erica has offered. Of course, she's trying to make a sell here, probably. Maybe sell the package, and maybe she gets a little bit of a bonus if she makes a good sell, because these packages are quite expensive.
They certainly are, so of course she needs to provide as much information as possible.
Yeah.
And Erica says, you're welcome, no problem. If you opt for the Oxford package, please return for registration. So here, if you opt for something, that means you choose something, and that just means to have an option for something. The option, of course, is a choice that you have. And so if you opt for something or if you choose the Oxford package, you need to come back in order to register. And the process of registering is often called registration. So when you go to university for the first time, of course, you'll have to go through registration, which I guess nowadays is done online. When I was in university, of course, you had to do registration in person. You had to wait in line, and then you had to register for your classes.
Oh, it's much more convenient now. I wanted to mention, if you do use opt, you have to use opt for, the preposition. You opt for something. If you don't like opt, you could say, if you choose the Oxford package, if you pick the Oxford package, if you select the Oxford package, those are all fine verbs to use there. So they're going to have to return for registration, and that's when Erica will be able to facilitate or help them with any further needs they have at that point. I'm sure after they look at the brochure, they'll have more questions, more detailed questions to ask of her. I would make sure you know as much as you can before you put down all that money for a study tour.
And they might also want to look into other options about going to different countries, maybe to Italy or maybe to Congo in Africa or something like that. Who knows? They probably have other choices. And it does sound like they're interested in this particular tour of going to Oxford, and they need to peruse the brochure. And Callum says, we'll definitely think about it. We'll look over the brochure and we'll make a decision in the future. And hopefully we'll be back to register in the near future. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是9月25号 Unit 13 Choosing the Best Study Tour for Callum。今天这一课是多益单元，内容和游学有关。不晓得各位听众有没有这方面的经验？有很多人学习英文学了很多年，除了语言以外，对英美文化还有这些欧美国家的观光景点也非常感兴趣。这时候选择某座城市或某个地方做深度旅游，时间维持3到4周，在经济许可的情况之下，其实是非常难能可贵的经验，绝对比参加旅行团走马看花或者短时间自助旅游还更能深入了解当地的自然、人文风光。不过现在由于可以选择的地方太多了，英美、加拿大、澳洲、纽西兰，到底应该去哪个国家、哪个地方？很多人可能会陷入选择困难。这个单元就是有一位家长，他带着小孩去请类似留学顾问中心或游学代办之类的，请他们提供建议。 各位听众也可以参考看看。Without further ado， 我们一起看看今日课程内容的学习重点吧。好，首先呢，到了留学这个代办中心之后呢，家长先提出来说 Good morning, Erica. I'm Brett, and this is my son, Callum. He's contemplating a study tour this summer, but he's uncertain about the destination.We're hoping you can steer us in the right direction. 原来家长先开口了，就是介绍自己的孩子。那他呢，希望夏天，也就是暑假的时候去游学，不过不知道到底该去哪里，所以呢，请这个代办中心提供给他们一些指引。请同学特别注意到的是 contemplate 其实就像是考虑。好，那后面的这个 steer 原本呢是引导或者控制车辆或者船只，那在这边呢是引申的意思，也就是说，那请你呢给我们一些方向。后面哦，这个 steer 老师想要再补充一个常见的片语是 steer clear of。clear C-L-E-A-R steer clear of 是什么意思啊？就是小心避免或远离的意思。像比方说，很多人都不敢碰政治，因为呢，很多人可能政治立场不一样，就容易吵架。所以，比方说，我们可以造个句子，His podcast steers clear of prickly political issues。有些人做这个 podcast， 那怕说听众好像会因为他的政治立场就不喜欢他，所以呢，就会刻意避开这些棘手的政治问题。好，接着 Erica 她做了回应她很乐于呢介绍，不过她想要先了解这个 Callum 这个男孩子他到底有哪些兴趣。Knowing them will enable me to recommend。 我如果了解你的兴趣的话，我比较能够做出好的介绍。那 Callum 这个男孩子呢，他就回答，原来啊，他喜欢文化和历史，所以他希望去的地方是有很丰富的文化遗产。请同学看到 locations with a rich heritage。A rich heritage 意思就是这个地方呢有很多的文化遗产，有很多古迹可以去探索。那再来，这个 Erica 她再进一步的去回复啦，你可以参考牛津大学 It offers an enriching experience， 用到 enriching 来修饰 experience。 那 enrich 这个字到底是什么意思呢？其实就是让什么更加的充实。好，那比方说Emily's exposure to museums enriched her life in France。 所以 Emily 到了法国之后，去了很多博物馆，所以在法国的生活就变得非常的充实。这 enriching 就有这样子的意思，让人呢更充实。好，再来请同学特别注意到的是 cultural excursions 这个字，是 excursion 看起来好像有点难，其实并不难。它其实呢就是旅游 short trip 的意思，就很短的这个旅程。再来呢，我们看到后面的 iconic site， 那当然就是一座城市重要的景点咯。好，那再来我们看到 Callum 的回复，因为是年轻人嘛，所以他就说 That sounds superb， 太棒了。好，那他呢会很喜欢，会很享受呢有机会去探索这些古迹的 explore those historical sites。好，就是 historical sites， 那当然就是这些历史的古迹。好了，那接下来就是家长就代替小孩子问了，听起来不错哦。Do you have a flyer or a brochure？ 那请同学特别注意 ，flyer 我们一般就说就是传单。那 brochure 呢，这个字很有趣哦。其实呢，我们中文哦，一般人讲中文的时候，常常都会说 DM， 对吧？那其实就是讲英文的人口中的这个 brochure。它可能是一个折叠页，那里面就会家长希望索取的就是里面有相关的价格啊，比较详细的资讯。那 Erica 她就回复有的，这里就有咯。好，那而且呢，我们看到这个 brochure 这个 DM 里面哦，还有进一步的讲出来说，你可以去牛津的哪些地方看一看。It also highlights all the interesting places to visit。好，所以就是有特别说明，有特别拉出来，让你看到说还有哪些地方可以去。好啦，最后家长非常的有礼貌，就谢谢呢服务人员所提供的服务。We appreciate your assistance。好，那最后这个 Erica 再一次的强调说，他也很有礼貌，回复说 You are welcome if you offer the Oxford package。如果呢你要选的是牛津这个游学课程的话，选择 offer， 那我会很乐意为您服务。 We'd be delighted to facilitate any further needs.Facilitate 就是进一步的去协助的意思，就是协助让什么事情变得更加容易。好的，以上就是我们针对第一天课程所做的中文讲解，谢谢大家。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. This is our useful expressions time here. We're going to look at some of these expressions that will be expressing appreciation, your gratitude to someone for helping you, obviously. So here's the first one. I am truly grateful for your help and support during this difficult time. So if you're grateful, that's another way to say you appreciate someone's help. I just want to express my gratitude for all your support during this time. There are lots of ways to say a similar phrase.
Right, so remember the original phrase was to appreciate someone's help or their assistance. So here you can say, I'm grateful for your help. I'm grateful for your assistance. And here's number 2. Your contribution in this project has been essential for its success, and I am deeply appreciative of your efforts. So here, appreciative is the adjective form of the verb to appreciate. So I could say, I deeply appreciate your efforts, or I am deeply appreciative of your efforts. So this isn't really used too commonly. I don't really say this very often because the word appreciative is kind of difficult to say even for native speakers.
Yeah, it's very long. Yeah, it is because you've got that really quick extra vowel, appreciative. And so often you'll hear us say appreciative. We just, kind of miss out on that extra vowel, appreciative. You really appreciate something. You could use it in your writing, though. If you write it, you don't have to say it. It's a lot easier. You just have to remember how to spell it. So if someone's really done a great job on a particular project and you feel like you owe them a great deal for making the project successful, this is a phrase you might want to use with maybe a coworker or a colleague.
Okay, number 3 here says, I must extend my heartfelt thanks to my teammates for their hard work, without which the success of this project wouldn't have been possible. This is kind of formal here. This is probably what somebody would say in a presentation. I'd like to extend my thanks, and in this case, it would be my heartfelt thanks, which is my sincere thanks. I really want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. We're thanking the teammates for their hard work, and without their hard work, this success or this project would have failed. The success of the project would not have been possible. So yes, I am going to extend my heartfelt thanks.
You could also say, I must extend my gratitude. I must extend my appreciation. When I read this particular phrase, Tom, I think of a talk. Someone standing in front of a group of people. Maybe they just finished a presentation. I must extend my heartfelt thanks. My heartfelt appreciation. Extend just means to give to somebody. And we do use that particular phrase. So these are some great ones. Here's the discussion questions. Here at the end, how much do you think this study tour package will cost?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Maybe 50,000 NT dollars. But it also depends on whether transportation is included because, of course, England is a long distance away from Taiwan.
It also depends on how long this lasts. Is it 2 months? Is it 1 month? Is it 3 weeks? That would definitely affect the price. It will definitely be more than 50,000 if it's for the summer. It's going to be much, much more expensive, especially now. Everything's more expensive everywhere.
It might be cheaper to send your son or daughter over to Hong Kong, which is kind of in the neighborhood, but that's up to you to decide. And that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Maybe you can have a discussion as interesting as the one we just had amongst yourselves. And please join us again next time for another edition of our program. And in that other edition of our program, we're going to actually be looking at the brochure. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.